Welcome back to the channel, and as I like to say and many others, it's earnings season, where we get a glimpse into how airlines are performing, and that is why in today's aviation news recap, there's focus on Delta's performance. Moving over to the Lufthansa Group, and there's developments surrounding the flag carrier and mainline Lufthansa, as well as growth at Lufthansa Cargo. Let's begin with the flag carrier. It has a responsibility to be there for its people and offer the highest service levels possible. However, over the last 18 months, Lufthansa's situation has become increasingly more challenging, and the airline is now, for better words, struggling. In recent periods, Lufthansa's revenues have dropped considerably lower than expected, contributing to the airline's adjusted forecasts. Furthermore, they've looked to implement measures to reduce operational impact alongside facing further financial turmoil. Lufthansa's struggles aren't said to be, say, a crisis, but unfortunately for the airline, they are more of a new normal and something they know can't persist for much longer. As revenues continue to fall, the primary problem is the costs surrounding the business, which are only reportedly continuing to increase at an unsustainable rate. Lufthansa would not be alone in reporting higher operating costs across the last few years. In fact, the middle story for today's video is going to take a look at that at another airline. We've seen the industry see higher costs because of the economic climate and so many other factors. For Lufthansa specifically, well, things such as reaching an agreement with employee groups to cease strike action and provide them with greater working conditions is just one of the many factors that have been experienced internally and therefore had a knock-on effect of seeing expenses rise. And then look no further than Lufthansa being impacted by manufacturers' inability to deliver aircraft on time, something certainly I've covered here on the channel like a beaten horse, but it is a problem. The inability has grown quite substantially, with delays ballooning out and your companies such as Lufthansa feeling tremendous financial hurt, something that some are seeking compensation for. Lufthansa has been forced to retain older and more inefficient aircraft to mitigate capacity loss. While these aircraft are favourites among enthusiasts, they were previously detailed as being on the way out when looking at future fleet plans. However, this has not been possible because of those next-gen aircraft delays, and the retainment has increased costs across the board, not just from the regular day-to-day operation, but even ongoing maintenance to maintain these at the highest level. In addition to aircraft difficulties, Lufthansa is continuing to see increased competition in a varying degree of market. And while competition is normal, the persistent fluctuation has given the company more to think about, especially because it is a flag carrier and is considered a premium brand, and with an inability to have the aircraft it would like flying, it's facing more and more airlines trying to come in and take market share away. Unfortunately also, despite high investment in their onboard product, look no further than frequent flyers widely criticizing that the Lufthansa experience is not up to standard, especially for the price point. It's been tough for the company, even looking towards business travel, and for the long term they know they need to stabilize themselves to ensure that their future can be successful, and this task will be a challenge. Taking indeed a short break from focusing on the Lufthansa Group and moving over to the United States, where Delta has announced its Q2 results and provided an outlook for the next quarter. It sees record revenues, but also some apparent concerns that I'll get into. Operating revenues for the quarter stood at $16.7 billion, while operating income at USD 2.3 billion. Record revenues, though, are hardly surprising considering that we're seeing record levels of demand to fly. While travel demand continues to rise and record revenues, yes, were reported, Delta has visible concerns that will impact its forecasting for future quarters. The US airline says its second quarter profit dropped by 29% as it battles higher costs, similar to what I was just talking about with Lufthansa, whether it be labor related or the operating climate. They've seen their costs rise. This trend is expected to continue into the third quarter of 2024, with profits to be lower than initially forecasted. forecasted. Delta doesn't believe it's in a crisis mode, but instead a position where it needs to slow growth and be mindful of overcapacity. This is a word we're seeing thrown around more and more by executives. They need to find ways to mitigate some of the challenges so they can be stable for the more long term. Positives across the quarter did exist. Delta said that they operated the most reliable schedule among any of its competitors. Service reliability relates to the completion factor and also on-time performance for your scheduled arrivals and departures. The quarter saw the airline take delivery of 11 new aircraft. This was actually notably including only Airbus-produced aircraft, as we're continuing to see the company transition towards a greater reliance on the European plane maker for next-gen planes. These deliveries also have to be factored in that it includes delays faced in acquiring new planes as manufacturers battle supply chain difficulties. The quarter saw the launch of a new route towards Taipei as they focus on continued growth in Asia, and further to that, they've committed to launching several new routes in the coming months, which should beef up their network as we move into the 2024-2025 winter schedule. Delta is the first airline in the United States to report its financial results at the time of recording, and therefore, analysts argue it'll be a sign of things to come. And in the following aviation news recaps, I'll take a look at American Airlines and United to try and compare and understand how these airlines are faring. On to the final story in today's aviation news recap. Lufthansa Cargo has announced the expansion of its freighter operations to China by adding new destinations. The latest announcement will see the addition of Shenzhen International Airport to its long-haul network. Furthermore, the freight company has already most recently begun operations to Zhangzhou. I know I've probably pronounced that incorrectly, and I do sincerely apologize if I've offended anyone, but honestly, no matter how many times I look up the pronunciation of it, I do struggle. But operations to this location will be thrice weekly to meet the relevant demand, and they're all being made possible thanks to the Lufthansa Cargo fleet of 777 freighters, which have really stepped up in the last few years and have opened the doors for an addition of many new locations. The Chinese market has seen pretty good growth, and Lufthansa Group says it's expanding its network to meet this. Most notably, the growth revolves around service between Chinese and European markets, and thanks to the addition of the 2 locations in China, Lufthansa Cargo now offers service to 19 destinations, and therefore, yes, that equates to 47 weekly frequencies. All these services play a role in direct but also fast transportation of goods to those who require them. The standout is the ability to have 47 weekly frequencies, because this will give a greater level of flexibility to customers who are able to optimize their transportation. Lufthansa Cargo executives stated that deploying additional flights to China will allow them to grow in what is a vital region for them. That is going to conclude today's aviation news recap. Thank you very much for the support here on the channel. Do take care, be safe. I'll see you tomorrow at midnight local time here on Australia, or whatever that time is for you, for your latest industry news. And we'll fly.